Hello, everyone. So, doing our first episode today of the Uncharted podcast. To my left and to my right of me, I have Hess and I have Keon here, two of the audio engineers at our studio, and myself, the CEO and owner of Uncharted Records. First, what we're going to do is just kind of give a little introduction about ourselves, talk about why we kind of got into the music, things like that. So, first, I'm just going to go introduce myself. So, once again, my name is Elijah Thomas. I pretty much started Uncharted Records back in 2016 with really the passion to just give a voice for the unheard, the people who need the help, the people who need the team there to kind of get them where they want to be. And so it started off with, doing audio engineering. So I worked with a lot of our first artists that we worked with, whether it just, be working in a closet or, recording under a stadium at the high school or something like that, whatever it was to get our first couple tracks done. And then eventually, once we moved on from there, it kind of became a bigger vision of let's put together a team to kind of do this for the wider span of all artists that need this help. And so, switching over from audio engineering to the CEO and kind of giving more of the leadership side of things, I kind of had to bring in the right audio engineers to do the right job, So I'm gonna let you guys kind of introduce yourselves and you guys get to learn a little bit about them.
Yeah. So my name's Keon Nahali. I'm one of the audio engineers, music producers. I'm also the studio manager here. I kind of take on the clients and everything, and even our contracted clients, and kind of make sure that their projects are up and running, get their tracking done, their mixing and mastering. Kind of work alongside Elijah and Zeke for kind of the entire vision of the company.
Yep.
And kind of the direction that we're taking it and everything. And we got a lot of stuff in store this year.
For sure.
A lot of big stuff is coming, and I can't wait for it. It's definitely going to be a big year for us, but that's a little bit about me. But Hess, you want to speak a little bit on you?
Yeah, so my name is Taylor, a.k.a. Hess. I'm an audio engineer here at Uncharted. I started music back in around 2012. Yeah, around 2012. So I've been doing music about 10 years. Engineering started about 5 years ago, and about 3 years ago, I kind of went full in on the mixing and engineering side. So yeah, it's about how I got here. Found Uncharted and after graduating school, and was looking for some work, and been here almost a year now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, 2021 was definitely a very interesting year, but
a lot of growth and figuring out the foundation of everything, and kind of figuring out laying the basis of everything. That's always the most important thing, not just in music, but in any type of industry.
I think it's important to kind of find the groove, because everybody's different, and there's a lot of talented people, but everybody has their strong suits, and everybody needs to do something a little bit different, or offer something different. So it takes time for anybody, but it's gone pretty quick.
Time is flying.
Because we built out the studio back in March. That's when we first got the lease on the place and everything like that. Started putting it all together. I think we had it together in about a month and a half, maybe something like that.
Especially building out everything too.
Literally built everything from scratch, all the panels, everything like that. Designed it out just through Photoshop, and kind of lined everything up with the acoustic treatment and all sorts of stuff, and started putting all the pieces together. And once we had that, it was just all right, got to find the right guys. And like you guys said, it was just phone call or something like that. I had a little interview and these guys fit the marker, So it was good. Well, one of the other things I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about was just to give a little bit explanation about why we even got into music in the first place, right? I mean, everyone has their own reasons. Some people do it for the creativity of it. Some people do it for the fame. Some people do it for the money. A lot of people do it for different reasons. And so I kind of just want to dive into why we started, this path for ourselves. So myself, I mean, I always had music kind of I feel introduced to me as a young child. My dad was a pretty big reggae fan, with me being Jamaican, and so I feel it wasn't even just a weekend cleaning thing. It was a daily basis,
all day, all night.
He had a pretty solid stereo in the house, so probably shaking the houses next to us. But it was Bob Marley and all the Marley kids, as well as just Sizzla. I mean, a lot of good reggae music, and I think I felt I didn't have a choice but to like it. But I think I found a passion for just like enjoying music and letting that be a part of my like daily lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know. And then my mom was a pretty big R&B fan, so she was a pretty big fan of like Whitney Houston, Jennifer Hudson, right? Who else? I mean, she was a big R&B fan. So when we were in the car and stuff like that on the move, when I was driving around with her as a kid, she definitely had a lot of good music that she would show to me in that way. I mean, Michael Jackson was actually pretty big influence on me as well as a kid, because both my parents were pretty big fan of him. And so like I said, like music was just integrated into my lifestyle. You know, I was just around it like on a day-to-day basis. And so when it came down to like starting the company, it was more of a thing of just like all these other kids either write music or they're musicians, they're in band, you know, things like that. Or some of these guys play the keys, or some of these guys wanted to be producers or something like that, you know, or they just download FL Studio, don't know exactly how to use it, but
Everyone
you know,
always downloading that free trial
yeah,
of
exactly.
FL.
Whether it was free trial or the bootleg, whatever it may be, you know, yeah, it was just like it was just one of those opportunities to be like, hey guys, let's just put something together out of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's great to have all this talent and all this like this passion to want to create something by ourselves, but like let's just try to create something bigger than that. And so that's kind of like where Uncharted kind of had its first steps, and I kind of just kept pushing from there. And honestly, like the more music that we work on, the more artists that we work with, the more collaborative it gets. I think like that's kind of like the energy that I love to be around. You know? Like when I come into the studio session, you see people creating, you see people putting a smile on their faces and things like that. And when you know you're doing a mix or something like that, and you see the final product, and when you deliver it to them, they're just that that process in itself and the energy.
It's peaceful too in a way.
Yeah, it's very it just has a big influence on me. So I mean that in itself, I continuously just keep using to do more and wanting to make more music and keep doing more with the company. You know, so why don't you guys talk about yourselves and let you guys explain your side too.
Yeah, so this is Keon, but it's kind of the same thing in a way. I'm half Jamaican, half Persian, so it's a really odd mix. I'm a really big mutt.
Yep.
But kind of in my household was same thing on my mom's side was a lot of reggae. Was played and everything, like a lot of Bob Marley and the Wailers and like a lot of Jimmy Cliff. A bunch of Jimmy Cliff was played, especially at my grandparents' house. And then on my dad's side and everything was my dad listened to a lot of like old school like Detroit and Chicago house music.
True.
So growing up with that, which is weird because he's like Iranian, so he's Persian.
Wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, so you wouldn't expect that. So it was like a lot of like early techno and stuff like that. And then just growing up, my older brother Andrew played a lot of EDM.
Yeah.
Like, I listened to a lot of EDM and like a lot of like pop punk, like Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff like that. Yeah. And then as I got older and everything, kind of got into like a lot of heavy metal, like Slipknot and stuff like that. And I think that's what definitely shaped my taste for like my artist project is Business Casual, like being in the EDM scene and like the heavy dubstep scene. That definitely helped shape me a lot. Was a lot of like, I definitely say a lot of Slipknot in middle school, which my mom did not approve of.
I'm sure.
She thought it was the devil's music, but it's not a phase, Mom. It's not a phase. Here I am 25 years later, still listening to Slipknot.
Yeah.
But that definitely helped shape me and everything like that for like my EDM artist side and everything. But a little bit more about like my background. I went to a school out in LA called Icon Collective, was blessed enough to get accepted there and attended there and everything like that out in Burbank. And a lot of my idols that I look up to still to this day, like Slander and Keizo, a lot of those big artists in the EDM scene, that's where they went to school. So that heavily influenced me to try to make sure like I get my foot in that door and get my butt in that school. So I was lucky enough to get in there and went out there and everything, came back to Orlando a couple years later, and then started the whole Business Casual project, and stuff's been taken off with that. And I'm very blessed with that. And my Kesley project, which is also my alias for R&B and pop and hip hop writing. Like I produce for other like R&B and hip hop artists as well. So that's been getting better. And then being with this company has been an absolute blessing at Uncharted. It's opened up so many avenues for me. I couldn't imagine like my life not being here at this moment. It's been a fantastic ride, and that's just a little bit about myself. But Tess, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So my story is a little bit different. So I didn't really grow up with a lot of not necessarily a lot of music in my house. It was mainly me that was just really into music. Not to say there wasn't music. A lot of like classic rock, Beatles, Pink Floyd, which was like my favorite all-time band. listened to a lot of Nirvana, Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's because it's what my mom listened to. Maybe a few little things, you know, not much, not a whole lot of hip hop actually. Like probably Beastie Boys, and then that's about it, which is always a good selection, you know.
Yeah.
Especially all the stuff they worked on with Rick Rubin.
Wow.
It's insane. But I got my first like guitar probably around like 9 or 10 years old. So I wanted to learn how to play guitar. And I do always remember like we had like music class in elementary.
Yeah.
And we'd always do these plays, and you try out for solos. I would always try out for solos like every play.
Okay.
Like I would try out for every solo.
That's what's up.
And I would never get it.
That's tough.
Yeah, but I would always try. I eventually did. Like my last year at the school.
That's what's up.
It
Okay.
was like before like 6th grade. It was like my last year in elementary, because our elementary went up to 6th grade.
Okay.
And I ended up getting the solo. But I do remember like 4th, 5th grade, like I had my guitar and I would try to write songs and stuff. And then like, and then I kind of drift away from like trying to make music for a little while. Try to learn the guitar a little bit more, and it just never caught on. But and that's around the time that like I really started diving into hip hop, and I would listen to everything though. I mean, still Nirvana, Kurt Cobain is one of my idols.
Yeah.
And would listen to anywhere from noir to let's see, like I'm trying to think of like the most off the wall other person, but it'd be anything from you know punk, rock, metal, hip hop, and I just really fell in love with hip hop, to be honest. Like that's always what I kind of went off to.
Yeah.
And I started writing that, and like short stories and poems and stuff like that. So I was always really into writing. And then around 2012, I decided to like, okay, I'm gonna try to make a song. And so I started book studio time for the first time, and just absolutely garbage.
Just atrocious. It's always the early stages that are like the roughest. It's the most like.
But I kept going.
Finding
So
time.
it was
Yeah.
then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna make a song every week.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna at least write half a song a day, and I'm gonna book studio time every week.
Yeah,
And so I did that. You know, I booked studio time every week. Started trying to work with local producers in Little Rock. I was in Little Rock at the time, and just kept practicing, and it was still garbage. And then I was like, all right, well, we do this independent music night in Little Rock. My people at RTLD Media and Grim Music, they put on this independent music night, and where you pretty much buy tickets wholesale
Yeah.
to perform, and you get like 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and then you try to sell as many tickets you can. And so you can actually, if you know enough people, you could probably make a few bucks.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went on to that, and just was terrible every time, and just kept working.
Learning
Until
experience,
eventually
man.
I've kind of
Learning
found,
experience.
I just found my spot, and
Yeah.
just kept on, and I moved back to Florida from there after a few years, and I was like, well, I don't know of any studios where I'm moving to, and I was talking to the engineer at the studio I was always going to, and he was like, well, all you need is like an interface, a computer, and then probably a microphone and probably a preamp. And
Kept it simple.
and then he was like, then you can just send me vocals.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I started learning how to track, and again, pretty bad, and then it got better.
It's always starting off rough,
yeah.
man. It's always a rough starting patch.
And then there was just a point where I was like, you know, no one's booking sessions with me just to come track, because that was my idea. Like I could, whatever I make from tracking, I could put toward my own mixes.
True. Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm not going to mix my own stuff, you know.
I send it out. Yeah.
And, you know, at the time, you know, it was just kind of funny. 'Cause at the time, no one wanted to book studio sessions unless they're getting the mix. Now it's no one wants the mix. They just want the tracking.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I might as well learn how to like mix. And then at the same time, I can do a reference mix and give it to the engineer, and he kind of knows what I'm looking for a little bit easier, so we're not going back and forth all the time. And then I just started falling in love with the mixing, and I got more into it and started practicing and teaching myself. And then eventually got to the point where I linked up with a studio in Longwood and started networking more, and didn't really do any work, to be honest, but I got to meet a lot of producers, artists, and start like seeing how people moved, and met other engineers. And then I got to a point where like I was talking to my parents, and they're like, "What are you gonna do?" Like,
Yeah.
I was working at a
Real
restaurant at
question.
the time, and
Yeah.
and they're like, "You need at least go to school for like a trade or something, so like just in case you could like fall back on." Because I always
Yeah.
was like, I'm doing music,
They were into
for the-
yeah.
you know, and I was like, well, they have schools for audio. And then,
Yeah.
so I was talking to my engineer buddy, who's actually an instructor at the school I ended up going to now. But he's like, "Oh, I graduated from Ferris. You should go there, or you should go check them out."
Yeah.
And he went with me to the walkthrough, and yeah, I ended up going to school there. He ended up being a teacher there, like the same year.
That's what's up.
And I kind of learned like the more like technical side of stuff, and got to learn how to troubleshoot a lot more, and then you got to learn about like all the different like avenues you can take
In terms
you
of
know.
like careers.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
freelance work. You get to learn a little bit of Foley, a little bit of ADR, a
Yeah.
little bit of production, a little bit of show pro. It's not going to teach you to be a good engineer. It's not going to
Yeah.
teach you to be a good producer. But if you already kind of have that ear, and I had already been trying to be doing it for like 4 years at this time, and then this has kind of filled in those gaps.
You know, I
And-
think even just to touch on it real quick, I think a lot of people don't realize that is when like I don't think you should ever go to an audio like school if you have never like taken out on your own time to like explore that side of things.
Yeah,
Because,
you can't
know,
jump right into it kind of thing.
Don't use that as like your little one step foundation to
Right.
start
Yeah.
music, you know? Because I feel like it's one of those things, like you said, if you know already what you're trying to do, it can kind of help you expand, your knowledge. But to use that as your only thing is like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be qualified at the end of it. That's not how it works.
No, you're never actually qualified. Like,
Ever.
I mean, every time I do something, I'm like, oh, it's not good enough.
Yeah, I could do better.
I need to do better.
Yeah.
Should I go back to school?
Dude, even like these Grammy-winning engineers are like, I still have no idea what compression does to this
Yep.
day.
Yeah.
They're like, I
I know it
just
sounds
tweak
good.
knobs.
Yeah, it's
Tweak
about
sounds
using
good.
your ear to a certain point. It's
Yeah.
good to know the basics, and of course, if you're working in like huge studios, like you only learn that stuff that they try to teach you at school over time. You can have an idea of it, but like there's so much stuff that can go wrong, and so much stuff that you can do. Like it's you only learn over time, and everything that you do it's really you're fitting yourself, and you're fitting the way you work. It's your workflow. So learning all the options and then putting together, that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's people that just have an ear for it.
For sure. For sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And training your ear is a big thing. So I think if you at least try to get in and learn how to work with people, because that's most of the thing. It's just working with people.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the greatest, but people want to feel comfortable. People want to have a good experience.
They want to have
Yeah.
that good energy. You have to have that good energy too.
Right.
Like especially
Yeah.
like working with artists, like they're coming in here to get work done.
Yeah.
And to make like at the end of the day, this is art too.
Yeah.
But it's also the music business, and people forget the business side of it as well.
I agree.
But like being like a energetic, like not fully energetic, but like being a engineer producer where they can come into the studio and just instantly click
Yeah.
with you. I feel like that's like more than 50% of the work right
It's
there.
literally people skills, man.
It
Some
is.
people don't value that stuff enough.
No, it's you got to make them. Artists are vulnerable. Artists are
Yeah.
insecure.
It's art,
It doesn't
yeah.
matter. They could talk about how many bodies they have all they want. Like they're still insecure.
Yeah.
Like I see it all the time.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is like you do have to separate the business side from that. And I think that's like the important thing, especially like here, is like when you're tracking. That you let it out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then later on, just worry about the business thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the cool thing about having the house.
Yeah.
Versus like a commercial spot is. I mean, not many studios are commercial spots anymore anyway.
Yeah.
And then and not only that, like people want to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And what more place are you comfortable than a house?
home.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and then kind of having this like artistic feel,
Yeah.
throughout it, and open and clean. It's another benefit too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't even think about the original. I know we went off a little bit,
but no, yeah, for sure. You know what? One thing I was gonna ask you guys about as well was like, for like mixing and mastering, right? It's one of those things like you talked about was just like something that you had to get into. You had to keep practicing to kind of like find a passion for it a little bit more. And I know we've had a conversation about it being a little bit more technical. Do you think that like anyone can just go into mixing and mastering? Do you think it takes like a certain like skill set or mindset to want to?
It takes a mindset, absolutely, more so than like just like anything else that you want to do. As cliche as that sounds, it is mindset at the end of the day. Like when I went to school in LA, I went to school like being a producer. Like I knew like I knew bare bones about mastering and mixing and stuff like that. I didn't really care. I was there to like make there to make like banger dubstep tracks and send my stuff out for mixing and mastering and stuff like that. But then like at the end of the day, like nowadays being a producer engineer, you have to be versatile. Like, it's not, and it's not to say that the whole art of a mastering engineer is dead, because there still are guys in the industry who are strictly mastering, but you have to be as versatile as possible.
And let's let it be known too, not every mastering engineer is necessarily a mastering engineer.
I mean,
there's different types of mastering for all y'all out there. There's traditional mastering, which is a lot harder to find now.
Someone literally does just mastering, and that's like
and there's, I mean, it goes. It's an art in itself.
It really is.
That's why I'm always like shaky on even saying I do mastering. I do mastering for streaming and releases, and I can do CD mastering. But like, am I a mastering engineer? I don't know. I don't know if I've earned that yet, but
more
engineer, I get by. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's very humble.
When you've seen those, when you see those mastering engineers, it's a whole different beast.
Because I mean, you got to look at it the same way with mixing, right? You know what I'm saying? Like when you focus on mixing, you're like, I am specifically a mixing engineer. Like, this is what I do on a day-to-day basis, where I work on the most. This is where I try to learn the most. And then, like you said, mastering is one of those things where you can just get it done to, like, let's say, I mean, for like, even when I did a lot more mixing and mastering, it's like, if I'm the controller of the mixing product, you know what I'm saying, I can get that song to really where I want it to be, more so in the mixing stage rather than having to do in the mastering stage. And I think a part of like being a really good mastering engineer is not to like bring that song still together, even if the mix isn't like perfect or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, still be able to like mold it and shape it to where you want it to get, where you want to get it.
I find it's a lot more technical based
in terms of the mastering side of things.
Like there is some creativity, of course, like with anything, but definitely it's knowing what the artist is going for. Majority of artists, I mean, they're gonna be like, okay, well, this is gonna, most people are gonna do it for streaming, so that there's a lot more kind of leeway with that. But if you're doing something for vinyl or for something for like,
that's very true too. That's a whole different thing.
Movies or
that's a good point.
Surround.
You forget about that stuff too.
There's a place for everybody. And I think the biggest part of the mastering, like you're saying, is not only making something just feel better, but it's just giving it everything its own room. It's you're giving it that last bit of energy.
That's true. Okay. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you guys. I mean, mixing and mastering is a craft, man, in its own. And I think one of the biggest things you definitely have to have when you're going into that field is being ready to train the hell out of your ear to hear the things that you need to hear.
You got to keep chipping at it, just like anything. You got to keep chipping at it. If you want to be a good mastering engineer, you got to keep like teaching. And we have so many resources nowadays. More so than ever. So I also think that's why a lot more people nowadays are mixing and mastering engineers. And you don't need a lot of analog gear to get a good... I mean, it does give a certain sound and a certain warmth and everything. But if like, man, how many of those Grammy-winning like engineers now is everything in the boxes nowadays? You know? But analog's never going to die. It's never going anywhere. It still gives like this beautiful tone. But everything is more like, we just have so many more resources nowadays, so everyone is trying to hit every avenue. So that's why a lot of these guys are like mixing and mastering engineers.
And it's just smarter. I mean, having a hybrid setup, because you have to do it a lot less, and it's a lot less maintenance. Yes, if you have the room and the money for those big studios.
I mean, why not?
Yes.
At that point.
However, it is a lot of upkeep. Analog gear is a lot of upkeep. So if you keep it simple and route it the same way, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And the plugins are so good now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true too.
they're only
Yeah.
getting better and better and
Yeah.
better, and like
I mean,
all
software's
these.
only gonna get better.
Yeah,
But there is something about that sauce, that little bit of seasoning on
Yeah,
there.
yeah, just
When
get it in
you
there.
know when you're hitting it hard into a mastering limiter, or sending it through a summing box, it just does
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And you can't describe what it does. You can't tell anybody what it does. You
just
just have to do it and then hear it, and then
You know the difference.
it is
yeah.
that.
you can
But-
feel it. a little. You can
Yeah.
definitely feel, like, especially if you like train your ears as a mixing and mastering engineer. It's crazy what, like, even just throwing like certain EQs, not even touching anything, but just turning it on, and you can literally feel like the overall
Right.
warmth that
Yep.
like a plugin.
Yep.
gives
And it's
off.
nice just grabbing things.
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
and using your ears instead of your eyes.
That's true too.
Yeah, we
yeah.
get
You
so
know what I
lost
mean?
using our eyes nowadays. That's
Yeah.
I have to like
Yeah.
sometimes come back and be like, okay, like pay more attention with your ears. Like
Yeah,
stop looking
right.
at all
Yeah.
like the spectrum so much.
Well, I know we're mixing engineers. We can talk all day about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, I guess overall, to kind of tie back what we were talking about in terms of like why we even got into music in the first place, was just tying back into like, why does this play into like Uncharted, right? Like all this music stuff we just talked about, all this stuff that we're loving about actually engineering music and creating all these technicalities and stuff like that. Why does this tie into like the Uncharted vision of like what we do as a company, right? I mean, to even just like start that out, I mean, like, Uncharted Records is literally about being a voice for the unheard.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you guys just heard, how much these guys actually love the creation of music itself, and the passion to
Goes
actually
deep.
like to learn more and do more and always try to get like a better product. I mean, that kind of just ties into like us, especially like when I was putting the company together, like I wanted us to have a quality first like approach. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially from the music, side of things. Whether it be like a really solid tracking process all the way down from your mixing, having a solid product there all the way down to your mastering, so that whatever you get coming out of the studio, like, it's something that you can be proud of and never question whether it's going to be like a good sounding track or not. Like, I know that if we do something here, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I trust you guys, I trust the equipment, I trust what we do as a company, so that ties into, I think, the rest of the things that we do as well. I mean, as a company right now, we are pretty much like that all-in-one type of like company, right? Like, you can come here and get everything you need as an artist, whether that be making your music, whether that be making music videos, whether that mean
graphic design,
marketing,
promotion, yeah.
like literally anything that you need, we can either do it ourselves or outsource it to a third party company that we work with to get it done.
Yeah.
And I think that's like really, really advantageous.
like we're trying to be like the staple for the independent artists.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
like the main thing, and the industry is changing so much nowadays.
Yep.
And a lot of artists are going the independent route because, for one, they have more control, more so than ever.
Yep.
I mean, still to this day, you hear about all these crazy 360 deals with artists going in.
Yep.
And, like, these labels get a cut from their merch to their shows to everything, and like these guys will be in these deals for like 5 years and like come
Yeah.
out with nothing.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, and social media makes it look so good and so nice and everything, but under it all, it's rough.
Yeah.
It can be really
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah. And I think that also touches into like you said, just being like that spot for the independent artist. Because, sometimes you hear like when we talk about Uncharted Records, like we do essentially 3 different things, right?
Yeah.
We're a studio, you know what I'm saying? We provide the services, we provide everything like that you need to create something. And then we have like the label side of things to actually help you navigate and build your career as an artist. And even in that side of things, like as a label, we're still we still create a way for you to still be your own boss in a way, right? Like anything that you do as an artist is like, you're really setting a path for what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I want to come in here and like create it. I want to work with you guys for like an album or something like that, right? I want to do like a 12-track album or something like that. I want to do, some music videos for these songs, whatever it may
Photo
be.
shoot,
Oh, yeah,
graphic design.
Yeah, I want to, plan out a marketing plan with this type of budget or something like that. And from that point, we just help you get all those things done. You know what I'm saying? And let it be orchestrated through our team that we've built to pretty much execute it. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, still, even the artists that we have signed to our label, even currently, still own their music. You know what I'm saying?
They own like 100%.
Yeah,
of their
100%. And if anything, it's never what we own the majority of your music. You know what I'm saying? And any time that we actually ever own music, it's a situation where it's like we're actually fronting money to help you create your projects as well, right? So we always leave it in the hands of the artist to take the ownership and lead the path of where they want to go. And then the last thing, just being like that platform for people, whether it be through events, whether it be through our open studio sessions, just an opportunity for them to kind of like network with other other people and network with us, and then just open doors for them to do more as an artist. 'Cause I feel like as a whole, the biggest thing that you miss out on, at least here in our city, is like not having that community aspect to support you.
That's some of the biggest thing in this industry is having a strong team and a strong network and a strong community. For sure, 100%. I mean, look at all the cities that pop off in music, like Atlanta and like New York. Like Atlanta, the community in Atlanta, like all these guys know each other.
Yeah.
All these guys are working together. So once 1, 2, 3 start popping off and start climbing the ranks, everyone around them is everyone is going along with them too.
Yeah, I know that someone was telling me about it, but like some of the bigger guys who came out of Atlanta usually pull on other guys onto their tracks and stuff like that to kind of help them gain some traction.
Yeah,
I forgot who said it. It was I don't remember if it was like Trade of the Truth or 2 Chainz. I can't remember exactly who said it, but they were talking about it, and they said, well, look at it like a flight of stairs.
Okay.
And you're helping each person up that flight of stairs. You take one step, and you can't help another person up. You take that one step, and then boom, boom. And it creates a line. And basically what they do, though, is they have, like, one massive studio or one main studio.
Yeah.
All these producers work in, and they bring in the artists. And when they're in the hallways, because there'd be multiple different studios in one building, and artists are passing by, yo, come hear this, let me get your input on this, or you know, and you network that way. And the fact that you network and people actually want to network, that's the major thing. It's the community side of it, because it's strength in numbers.
Absolutely. Of course, as always.
And it's so, accidents are so bound to happen with social media and all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't make yourself go viral.
No, it does not work that way.
You can set yourself up for
We'd all
success.
be millionaires right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
But you can't force yourself to go viral.
Yeah.
You know, the people is what makes you viral.
Yeah.
And you never know what's going to happen with a certain person. So why treat, you know, this other random person with any type of attitude other than respect? Because you never know.
That's true.
You gotta have blinders in a way. Like nowadays, especially with like how you were saying with social media and stuff like that. If you have like a strong team and you just keep your head on straight and just like bypass everything, because everything nowadays, I feel like it's kind of coming for each other a little bit.
Yeah,
everyone
depends on the people that you're around.
Yeah,
and you need some type of
competition.
I mean, it's just healthy.
Yeah.
Keeps you going, keeps that fire going.
Yeah, but you don't have to be, you know,
cutthroat about it.
Yeah. You don't like. I mean,
which is what we're trying to
still
like.
know people that are. I mean, they're getting killed, you know, over rap beef. And I'm like,
I thought we'd moved on.
You know what I mean? And it's
honestly, I thought Biggie and Pac would have just, made clear, guys, you should probably chill out.
Hell, nah, man.
It's not that serious.
What's worse is they're releasing the songs that's setting off these wars. And I'm like, the song's not even good though.
You guys are just talking
at least
crap
make
about
the song good. I don't know. But
That's true.
It's important community. But like going back to like the studio and like how I feel like this is a great place for that is, I feel like it's more like a freelance label. Like the main thing about actual like mainstream labels is they're hiring you. Like you're essentially working for somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not always bad. And everybody's different. You got to do what's best for you. But that's why they take that back end like they do.
Yeah.
You know it, but they're only signing you if you're already making something.
Yeah.
If you're not making revenue, they're not going to sign you. I don't care how good you are or how fly you are or what car you drive. They do not care about you unless you're making revenue.
Yep.
Other than that, they don't care.
Yeah.
So that first half of their job is done for. You know, like that's your job to make that happen.
Yeah.
And the reason they do that is to save a lot of money.
Yeah.
So now what they can do is just press a button and then make sure everything's put into play properly.
Yeah.
And that's what their job is. And I look at us as more like a freelance label. We're not hiring you. You don't work for us.
Yep.
We essentially work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We make sure that whatever you want as an artist, like we're gonna hit it on the head. We're gonna make sure we hit all those goals for you.
Yeah. And that's why you keep your back ends, because you are still independent at that point. So like for the people that run away from the word label, I just want them to understand like not all labels are bad. not all deals are bad. Even deals that are bad aren't always bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may be
very
bad
true.
for you, but it's not always bad. Usually they're pretty smart,
Yeah.
you know, because they're
Yeah.
putting the most. They have the most to lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so I that's what I kind of like about us is you are handling all your stuff. You're just having a team. You're hiring a team to make sure it gets done right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're here to be that that open ear and open place to care about it. Like,
Yeah.
and everybody that you know comes to us isn't always going to be working with us either. Like, it's quality control at the end of the day as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's what's kind of special. So
Yeah.
you don't have to be popular. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
You just have to have that urgency, that drive
For sure.
to do it.
Yep.
And that's 90% of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's probably the biggest thing that a lot of artists don't hone into enough. It's understanding, like, if you really want this thing, you have to get at it as if it's like any other thing that you really want in
Yeah,
life.
It's
you
work
know?
at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Because like
yeah.
once things pick up and everything, what do you think is gonna happen? Like
Yeah.
now your
Yeah.
phone is blowing up constantly, and it's not just all music. It's your
Yeah.
managers, it's your
It's business,
TM. Everyone wants this from you. Like it's
Yep.
business at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of people like lose that.
Yeah, you gotta stick with that. You gotta. I mean, like if you have a full time or if you have a full time or part time job, whatever it may be, the same diligence that you take to put into that type of job, if you care about it, it's the same thing you got to put into your career, music career, if not more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're trying to go, you know what I'm saying? In terms, we talk about this all the time, right?
Yeah.
When someone books a session or something like that, and they don't pull up on time, whatever it may be, right? It's like, would you pull up to like something that you cared about and not, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
say if it was a job opportunity or whatever it may be, would you pull up to your own job late, you know what I'm saying, whatever it may be, or something like that? Like, it's the same level of diligence.
Always what I tell people or something is, you're the artist. Imagine if you hired a videographer and he showed up late.
Yeah.
Would you
You
be
beat
cool
his
with
ass.
it? Like,
That is very
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
I like that.
yeah.
no,
Yeah.
you
You
would
know?
not, because I mean, especially if you got a big party of people.
Yep.
Or if
Wait
you
on 'em.
hired extras or
You're
models
paying them
and
per
stuff,
hour or some crap like
yeah.
that. Yep.
Yeah, would you be cool with that?
Yeah.
like
That's a very
you know
good
what
point.
I mean?
Yeah.
And I think because a lot of people get it twisted of what engineers really are. Like, yes, we're hired by you. Yes, we work for you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we are self-employed. That's one of the things that drove me to engineering. Was
Yeah.
I have a problem with, bosses.
Yeah.
I don't always agree with my bosses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to say that I don't like having bosses, but like, I need some sense of freedom.
For sure.
Yeah,
Or,
for sure.
Like I will respect it, but I'd rather do it on my own. If I'm going to work in food, I'd rather open my own burger joint and do the burgers like I like to do it.
True.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
And that's not taking anything away from having a boss. This is how I am.
Yeah.
I like to have my own flavor.
Yeah, and
And
be able
own
to add to
way.
it,
So
yeah.
like, I find a lot of artists, like, they watch a lot of movies and a lot of Instagram.
Unlike how
And they don't
think
understand
things should
how
go.
this works, so like they come
Yeah.
in a little snappy sometimes. But,
Yeah.
but we are still hired. You do
Yeah.
still hire. We do still work for you, but at
Yeah.
the same time, we're here to help you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, there is some points where it's like, okay, we got it. This is
Dialing
we
in.
know at this point what's the best.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, that ties in a little. I mean, pretty much just like what we doing as a company. I guess pretty much as like the final thing I wanted for us to talk about was just like hit on. I mean, we talked about it briefly, but what we do overall from like our services, and kind of like just touch on those a little bit more. So like, Keon, you were talking about it a bit as well, but one thing that we do for sure as a studio is we do our tracking here, all in house. We have Studio A and a Studio B. Studio B is a little bit more affordable, just for people who want to come in with a smaller group, or people just want to plug in their computer and kind of like go into cave mode and curate, and things like that.
Get their own little den for a little while.
Yeah, yeah. And we have like a happy hour deal as well, where we pretty much cut off $10 an hour per studio. So for Studio A and Studio B, where for Studio A it runs for $55 an hour, and Studio B you get for $40 an hour, and that's with an engineer. So if you even come by yourself, you're literally getting Studio B for like $30 an hour. Like I really don't know where else you're gonna beat that.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then we do our mixing and mastering bundle here as well, which would be done by Taylor and Keon, which is for $170. And then we have our masters for $50. So if you just want to send those in, we have a way for you to kind of like talk to our engineers, figure out where you want to go with the track, get some time for us to listen in, kind of get an idea of like even what your sound is like, things like that, and you can kind of work through that process with you as well. All this stuff is always on our website as well, uncharted-records.com, so you can easily just go on there and kind of see these type of this information about our services and things like that and our pricing, and then even for like videography and things like that. That's one of the things that we've been working on right now as well. And if you've seen like our Instagram and things like that, we've been trying to put out some higher production videos and things like that.
It's been really solid.
Yeah.
It's been really good.
And so like video team's always ready to go when it comes down to music videos. Definitely guys that have either done like their own production companies on their own by themselves, and it's kind of just like putting great minds together to do the same thing that I've done here with the studio, putting great minds together to create a great product. So same thing with those guys. And in terms of like our marketing promotion, we work with another company that focuses on Spotify promotion and playlisting, as well as like YouTube promotion and playlisting. So when we work with any artists that kind of need these type of services, we go to them and kind of be like that. What would you say, like that middleman to kind of help you go through that process and make sure that you get what you need out of there as well. And like you said, graphic design, album covers, flyers, advertisement type stuff.
Every avenue like an artist would need.
Yeah,
we've honestly got it covered.
Yeah. So like, I mean, you go on the, like we said, go on the website, you can check it out. It's all on there, pretty easy to navigate and find what you need. Or you could just give us a call and we kind of like walk you through what you need and how you can kind of get it done. But I mean, yeah. So I mean, is there any other things that you guys want to like hit on or?
Yeah, I want to touch on too. Like the B room is I'm saying it's great for producers.
True.
Yeah, we got a lot of producers.
And like, I mean, this is where you kind of bring in that almost that old fashioned way of making music, but still new. Like it still happens quite often. And this is what I feel like it's a cool balance of being in the house is you can do that whole system of producers in here. He's cooking up in B, and then that producer bring the artist in. They have 3 engineers. We got Lucas, tracking engineer. That essentially they can work with, or tracking engineer, mixing engineer, mastering engineer, all separate, all within the same house.
Yep.
I think that's important because that's a lot of times how A-list artists, B-list artists, a lot of artists work is they're working with different engineers and
True.
With the producer, and everything's hands-on, and you have that option here.
Yeah.
And
you don't get that
at an affordable cost. You don't have to pay those $90 an hour fees.
Yeah.
For that type of space. You can get it right here, that plug and play, super fluent, super efficient. And then within the same house, you have all those other services that you can rock with if you choose.
Yeah.
So producers are more than welcome to hit us up and come in, and they can have an engineer to work with. They can work with themselves. They can bring in the artist and whatever. It like this place is literally designed for whatever type of artist you are.
I definitely agree with that.
So like the services go for everybody, and there's always a reason to use something. So I wanted that to be
for sure.
Yeah, that was a really good point.
I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't think about, and we talk about it all the time. Is like when you're creating music, one of the things that you never want to have is like a tunnel vision in the like creativity space, because like people with different experiences, the different genres that they work with, things like that, can always bring out different sides to either things that you haven't done before, or even just to overall just make the product better. And so I think, like you said, like having different, if you have a mastering engineer, it's different from your mixing engineer, it's different from your tracking engineer, because like if you have those same guys be all the same people from that tracking stage probably to the mastering stage, it's going to be probably pretty similar where that person just saw it going, versus if you have a different guy on the mixing side of things. Okay, well, I heard this in tracking stuff, that I might be able to change this or whatever it may be, and I bring it up to the mastering engineer, they might be able to dial it in a way that will kind of bring it to another level, so I think that's why we create in groups, right? That's why we collaborate as a whole, is to bring in different perspectives and create something bigger than one person could probably put together by himself. And I think that's a very solid point.
I think it's just like, I know it's going to be kind of a weird analogy, but it's like cooking the perfect steak. Less is more. So you want everything in the same house, living together, but they're all different seasonings that you are using. So you're just using, some salt, some pepper, some garlic. You know what I mean? And some butter to finish it off. True. But it's all there. It's all together, and you're not doing too much of anything, and you're not doing, sea salt, pink salt, and then
Himalayan salt,
iodized, like it's gonna come out too salty.
That's true.
So it's just a little bit of everything, and yeah, it makes that
That's
just
what
that.
counts. Yeah.
It makes it all so much better.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
man.
agree. Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, man. So, I mean, this is just our first episode. What we want to dive into in the rest of our episodes is kind of what you saw us going a little bit off a tangent. You know, sometimes just like mixing either like how tos or just like mixing knowledge, things
Yeah,
like that.
we're gonna be touching over. I feel like a little bit of everything that
Yeah,
someone who loves music is gonna want to touch on,
sure.
from even just to social media stuff.
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
people nowadays don't really even know how to navigate social media.
Yep.
And, it kind of is getting easier in a way, but yeah, like I feel what it is we all get kind of lost in looking at our peers and where our peers are. So then it kind of hinders a lot of artists. So we'll definitely be touching on a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's gonna be exciting for sure.
music industry knowledge as a whole. You know?
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
mean, whatever that we've learned, I guess, by ourselves, you know, or what we can put together collectively now, you know, is just kind of spreading that knowledge to everyone else. And hopefully you guys can learn a lot from it. If you guys have questions or ideas that you guys even want to hear about, things like that, definitely feel free to send that our way as well. We'll definitely, you know, talk about it. And we'll kind of just go from there. But like we said, this is episode 1, you know, episode 2 will be, you know, following up shortly after as well. And we'll kind of just go from there. So we appreciate you guys listening in.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. See you guys soon. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Till next time.